The aftermath of the devastating tsunami that struck Severokurilsk in 1952 is shown here. A rare 1971 photograph showing a 14-year-old Osama bin Laden visiting Oxford. Children performing the Bellamy salute while pledging allegiance to the U.S. flag in 1942. The gesture was changed a year later because of its similarity to the Nazi salute. A party attended by both white and black children takes place in Virginia, USA, in 1958, the same year that racial segregation in U.S. schools was legislatively abolished. In the British colony of Zanzibar, on the east coast of Africa, a tired nanny poses next to her ward, named Farrokh Bulsara, in 1947. A quarter of a century later, the boy would adopt the pseudonym Freddie Mercury. Jeff Bezos, one of the wealthiest people in the world, pictured at the beginning of his career in 1999. The mysterious epidemic of encephalitis lethargica, or sleeping sickness, spread to many countries in the 1920s. Infected individuals constantly wanted to sleep and often never woke up. A criminal in Mongolia is shown suffering a common punishment where the offender is placed in a wooden box too small to fit comfortably and left to starve in public. The vehicle in which Princess Diana and Dodi Al-Fayed were traveling is shown following the car accident on August 31st, 1997. Night fishing in Hawaii in 1968, where bright lights were used to attract fish to the shallows. The Victorian baby bottle was meant to simplify breastfeeding, but because it was impossible to clean properly, it caused a rise in infant deaths and earned the nickname murder bottle. A photograph from 1869 showing one of the last indigenous Tasmanians, a people exterminated by British settlers. An attempt to cure a child suffering from rickets by passing them through a hole in a healing tree in Sweden, 1918. Students at Cornell University learned the intricacies of ironing during a home economics class in 1951. Russian soldiers carrying machine guns and wearing uniforms without insignia are seen standing near the Supreme Council building of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea on March 1, 2014. Workers standing with 3 links of the handmade anchor chain for the Titanic in 1910, emphasizing the record-breaking size of the ship. In 1921, designer Valerian Abakovsky conducted tests on the Aero Wagon, a train powered by an aircraft engine. Unfortunately, on the return journey, the vehicle derailed and crashed, killing the inventor. A memorial cross stands for the last witch, burned in 1657 in Scotland. Chinese laborers are shown carrying tea bales in 1917. In 1926, 24-year-old Dorothy Ellen accidentally strangled the gangster Michael O'Hara with a scarf during an encounter in a brothel. Despite the event being ruled an accident, she was sentenced to 15 years in prison. One of only 4 preserved human nervous systems in existence, the extraction process took over 1,000 hours. A scene from Stalingrad in December 1942. A woman sits in the ruins of her bombed London home, drinking tea during the Blitz in 1940. A dark chapter in Louisiana history reveals that under an 1848 law, children born to incarcerated black women were considered state property. Mothers raised them in prison until age 10, at which point the state sold the children via newspaper advertisements. Kiyoshi Ogawa, a kamikaze pilot who attacked the American aircraft carrier Bunker Hill. The battleship Slava is pictured following the Battle of Moon Sound in 1917, evoking the sheer terror one would have felt serving on such a vessel during combat. Freddie Overstegen, a Dutch girl who killed dozens of Nazis, worked with her friend and sister as part of the resistance to lure men into the woods where they were shot in the head. Berta Baranda, who was sentenced to 5 years in prison in the USA in 1907 for severing her husband's member after he cheated on her. A brutal-looking early orthopedic tool used for scoliosis treatment is pictured here in the 1880s. Motor chariots at a carnival in New South Wales, 1936. A photo titled "Walking the Mummies," taken in Italy, 1950. This early 20th century photo from Persia shows the execution of a thief. What appears to be a statue is actually a person subjected to a complex execution method. He was tied up, encased in a wall of raw bricks, and the space was filled with lime. After 6 hours, the man was still alive, so he was subsequently shot. The caption notes that his crime was stealing 2 cucumbers. The knocker-upper, or human alarm clock, was a profession that existed in England and Ireland during the Industrial Revolution and lasted until the 1920s. King Alexander I of Yugoslavia refused to attend public events on Tuesdays because 3 family members had died on that day of the week. Eventually, deciding to end this silly superstition, he made an official visit to Marseille on a Tuesday and was shot by a terrorist. In the 1930s, a woman's pregnancy was determined by injecting her urine into frogs. If the frog began laying eggs after 15 hours, it indicated that the woman was pregnant. In Breslau, in 1945, a Soviet lieutenant is captured in a photograph wiping his boots on a Nazi flag. A 1945 photo shows liberated prisoners of Buchenwald concentration camp, with future Nobel Peace Prize laureate Elie Wiesel pictured 7th from the left in the second row. In a Myanmar prison during the 1900s, inmates restrained by handcuffs and leg irons were forced to operate grain mills using foot power. An advertisement from 1911 for menthol cocaine throat lozenges intended for coughs, with instructions to take 1 every 2 hours. Dorothy Counts, one of the first black students at Harry Harding High School in 1957, withdrew after 4 days due to severe harassment. The skeleton of Siamese twins is displayed in the Mütter Museum. The funeral of Emmett Till, a young man lynched after being falsely accused by a white woman. His mother insisted on an open casket funeral to expose the brutality of American racism to the world. Children seek refuge in an underground shelter to protect themselves from explosions during the Spanish Civil War in 1938. In October 2012, the Peruvian military caught a giant flying fox that had been terrifying the local population, with a wingspan reaching 2 meters. Fans of Manchester and Cardiff are seen arguing over which team plays better football in Britain during the 1970s. The final day of the government-led gold distribution in China, 1949. Pablo Escobar is pictured inside one of his cash vaults in Colombia, 1982. Legend claims he spent $2,500 monthly on rubber bands just to bundle his money. Discarded shoes belonging to South Vietnamese army soldiers litter a road on the outskirts of Saigon in 1975, left behind as they shed their military uniforms to conceal their identity. In a French village during World War I, a mother and her child are depicted cooking while wearing gas masks. Members of the real Peaky Blinders gang, who terrorized Birmingham in 1903, are pictured here. In the early 20th century, weight loss products containing dinitrophonol were extremely dangerous. While they prevented calories from turning into fat, they also caused lethal poisoning. Charles King, the president of Liberia in 1927, holds the Guinness World Record for the most fraudulent election. He claimed victory with 234,000 votes, despite the country having only 15,000 registered voters. In Kenya in 1988, Barack Obama visits his step-grandmother, Sarah Ogwell Onyango Obama. A disturbing historical record notes that between 1932 and 1972, the U.S. Public Health Service conducted a study where 399 African American men were intentionally infected with syphilis. In 1989, U.S. troops invaded Panama under the pretext of protecting 35,000 American citizens, though the true objective was to overthrow the government and reclaim control of the Panama Canal. This photo captures combat near the Panamanian Ministry of Defense. This image illustrates how teeth were treated several centuries ago. Republicans and Democrats engage in a snowball fight at the Capitol in the USA, 1921. In Alabama, in 1937, a girl who is a descendant of slaves lives on a plantation in a primitive hut that uses newspapers for wallpaper. A young lady looks at the camera while men secure their baggage to their car during a stop in Shawboro, North Carolina, as migrants travel from Florida to New York in July 1940. A protester against the Vietnam War is shown placing a carnation into the barrel of a soldier's rifle that was aimed at peaceful people in 1967. The Football War of 1969 was a 6-day military conflict between El Salvador and Honduras. The pretext for the war was the loss of the Honduran team to the Salvadoran team in the World Cup qualifying playoff matches. In New Guinea in 1942, an Australian soldier watches as a Japanese soldier prepares to detonate a grenade against his own head, choosing to go out on his own terms. The American Red Cross is depicted collecting donations using a vacuum cleaner in New York during World War I. The phrase, "no risk, no champagne," likely originated because French wine bottles used to explode, forcing people to wear protective suits in cellars to avoid flying shards, which often cost sommeliers their fingers or eyes. 5-year-old Lena Medina, the youngest mother in the world, holds her baby shortly after giving birth in Peru, 1939. A school bus travels through the streets of Taiwan in the 1950s. An inflatable bra from 1950. A prisoner hauls a heavy box of coal out of a mine shaft, Russia, 1890. A village wedding in 1913 features incredibly happy faces among the attendees. Jewish refugees aboard the ocean liner St. Louis travel back to Europe after being refused entry by Cuba, the United States, and Canada in 1939. A flock of flamingos takes shelter inside a restroom at a Miami zoo to safely wait out the passing of Hurricane Andrew in 1992. Cleanup workers at the Chernobyl disaster in 1986. Many of them later died from the effects of radiation. The collapse of a spectator grandstand is captured during the Indianapolis 500 race in the USA, 1960. A downed American fighter that violated Swiss airspace and attacked local aircraft in 1944. Shoot first, ask questions later. Friendly fire is a tragic reality in every conflict. Mark Twain demonstrates an experiment involving high-frequency current passing through the human body to light an incandescent bulb, with a mischievous Nikola Tesla standing at the light switch in 1895. Chicago police are pictured dumping tons of corn whiskey down a sewer after raiding an illegal distillery during Prohibition. Annie Jones, a famous bearded woman who spent her entire life performing in the circus after her mother sold her into the industry at the tender age of 3. A 1903 photograph of the Peaky Blinders, members of the real-life gang that terrorized Birmingham. While cities were transitioning to automobiles, this 1915 rural school bus in the USA combined an automotive chassis with horse-drawn power. A 16th century plague doctor mask is shown. Its beak was filled with herbs and opium to purify miasmas thought to cause disease, though it failed to protect doctors from the fleas that actually carried the plague. A 1910 photograph from the USA shows a resident of Ohio demonstrating a topless car of his own design. A mysterious and controversial photo of an ape man found in the Amazon, 1937. The destruction of the largest dirigible, the Hindenburg, in the USA in 1937 marked the end of the airship era. A procedure for removing freckles using dry ice in the 1930s. Beauty treatments of the past were often painful and unsafe. During the Soviet invasion of Czechoslovakia in 1968, a man stops a tank with his own body. In the late 1960s, Czechoslovakia had sought to implement democratic standards, such as freedom of speech and the press. Patrick O'Neill, a blacksmith in England without one arm, using a special working prosthesis in 1929. British Army Lieutenant William Spreckley, who was hospitalized in January 1917 due to a severe shrapnel wound to the nose, leaves Sir Harold Gillies' clinic in October 1920 with a significantly reconstructed appearance. Even someone with a lawnmower joined the line for gas during the fuel crisis in the USA, 1973. George McLaurin, one of the first African-American university students, is forced to sit apart from white students in 1948. During World War II, a surviving concentration camp prisoner weeps beside the charred body of a friend who was incinerated by guards using flamethrowers during an attempted escape. The scene outside the U.S. Embassy in Moscow, following a demonstration against the U.S. military invasion of Lebanon in 1958. Before releasing a new batch of cigarettes, manufacturers tested them to ensure they were not immediately lethal. These tests were conducted on subjects with no legal rights, typically resulting in an agonizing death. At protests during the 1969 Miss America pageant, a sign reading, "All women are beautiful," challenges societal standards of beauty. Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin of John F. Kennedy, pictured before his death in the USA, 1963. Reporters watch a nuclear test during Operation Plum Bob in the USA, 1957, which was the largest and most controversial nuclear series on U.S. soil, with 29 bombs detonated. Shoes belonging to prisoners left at the site of the Butugichag camp in Kolyma, Russia, 1989. German prisoners of war tidying up a football field during a break in a match between the Dynamo teams of Moscow and Tbilisi, USSR, 1945. This device, a gas chamber for horses used in Germany in 1942 to treat skin diseases, looked terrifying despite its medical purpose. A member of the Polish resistance checks her hair following a German air raid during the Warsaw Uprising, September 1944. Confederate and Union soldiers shake hands during a reunion at the Battle of Gettysburg in 1913.
Did this make you happy or maybe a little mad? Let me know your thoughts below. Stay tuned for the next exciting part. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Bye.